Well, hey everybody, it's Friday night. We have made it to the end of the week. Congratulations. It's a long overdue weekend coming our way. I'm News 8 Chief Meteorologist Eric Schneidel in the Weather Center. You know what? I should have turned the lights off. This video always looks better when I don't have a giant bright light behind me, but I apologize. We'll have to make do with this. All right, so we got some heavy snow that we're tracking here tonight. This is going to be an interesting next 24 hours across the area. And these are always the ones that they make us a little bit nervous here as meteorologists. This is lake effect with a narrow lake effect snow band. I think there are going to be parts of the area that wake up tomorrow to a lot of snowfall. I think this is going to be a setup where 3 miles north or 3 miles south of any point location, you could be going all or nothing. It's going to be very textbook in that regard. So we're going to do our best to kind of diagnose the situation here now. The band has formed. We've got heavy snow falling across the Buffalo area tonight, even into New Orleans County. But based on the morphology of this, kind of the structure and the behavior that we're seeing here, we're watching Mother Nature kind of tip her hand a little bit, and that will help us try to diagnose where some of these snow chances will go. Hi, Teresa, I see you there. Lou could do for more plowing in the city. Lou, there may be a part of the city tomorrow that you may get an opportunity to do that. Hi, Althea. I see we've got Lexi joining us as well. Now, before we go deep diving into radar, I want to start with this. These are the New York State live throughway cams. And there's one of those that is not like the other, huh? You know, Batavia's got some snow. That's still largely not bad. Look at the situation right now. Again, this is live in Williamsville. That is just on the northeast side of downtown Buffalo, that part of the thruway, and we have really quickly gone to snow-covered roads on the thruway, and you know how well they take care of I-90. So it takes a good, heavy, steady snow to be able to coat that in white, and I've seen several plows go by, and I would imagine they're throwing salt down there too. So I want you to get a good look at kind of what's falling from this band, because there may be an element of that, a fragment of it, but an element that will end up sliding eastward as we go deeper into the night. Right now in Rochester, it could not be any different than that. There is not a flake to be found across the city, but that will be changing here in pretty short order. So here's our band in question, and we've got lightning on this radar, and I keep waiting to see if we get a few bolts of lightning that will show up. That is not impossible, the notion of some thunder snow with this. So the situation in Buffalo improving. I think that that throughway view is going to actually get better here in the short term. But this is moderate to heavy snow that now extends along the throughway to just west of Batavia. We've got moderate to heavy snow falling in Alabama, in Elba. Now we're jumping into Orleans County. That's the view from Medina toward Berry, Albion, Clarendon, and Murray. Oddly enough, you go north of 104 there into Lyndonville, there's nothing happening right now. Very little in the way of snowfall. Now, I want you to note what this is kind of doing here. This is not, at least any longer, a perfectly straight line. If you look close here, and these are the little things that we look at, you can see some undulations. You can almost see that bit of an S shape in there. And I suspect what we're looking at, we've got a mid-level trough coming on by, and this bend in the S shape is going to be a little bit of a realignment of this band. So what you're going to notice is this energy passes on by. The heaviest snowfall, which right now is falling like this, I think you're going to end up reorganizing this band to look more like this. It's going to be a very subtle wind shift behind that subtle piece of energy coming on by, but it will be enough to just re-nudge and realign. So while the heaviest snow right now is completely sparing Rochester, I think what you're eventually going to get is this batch of the heavier stuff sliding its way off to the southeast. And that may take a little bit of time. We may be looking at several hours before that happens, so we're going to kind of be slow with this. But just as a loose metric on how we might see some of that snowfall picking up, closer toward Rochester as we get maybe within an hour or so, particularly on the west side of town. And once that then gets reestablished, we need to see how long this new reestablished band will park over the same spot. Does it do that for several hours, or does it keep on fluttering? Something else I'm noting out of this, look at how far out this band goes. So, you know, we talked earlier today about a lot of times with these southwest wind flows, you end up with a lot of snow only in this general area. You know, the band quickly diminishes with extent from there, often sparing Rochester. This will not be the case. You know, if this orients just right, you will end up with a snow band that goes all the way out like that, which is pretty remarkable. And all of that has to just do with the low-level winds. The stronger the winds, they're able to push that snow band farther out. Winds, by the way, for our last lake effect event had actually killed some of the snowfall coming off of Lake Ontario. I don't think that's going to happen here. Strong winds can kind of chop the heads off of the top of these clouds. They're very, very shallow. But because we're dealing with the long axis of Lake Ontario here, all of this airflow, windy or not, it's got a lot of time out over open waters versus that last event that we had that was a northwest wind flow. It had a much shorter amount of real estate out over Lake Ontario, and because of those strong winds, that really affected the amount of time it had to scoop up that moisture. So that's kind of how we see this. So I would be watching in the next 1 to 2 hours this realigning itself. You could already see some of the heavier echoes making some eastward progress here. Batavia, you've probably got about 20 or 30 minutes, and then it's going to start snowing hard again. And we just wait on the situation in the Rochester area. Now you can see that trough coming on by. It's kind of neat here. This is our water vapor imagery, and you can see the little bit of a subtle spin. That flow kind of like that. You see how it all wraps back up in here. Once that energy moves on through, that will be the realignment phase of this band, and that's where the snowfall should start to pick up here locally. All right, so future view through the night here. I want to point something out right now. This model is not accurately handling the snow band. This is important. These are little things that we look at. The snow band at this hour is most pronounced like this. So this computer model, I think, is a little bit ahead of its time. It's a little too far progressed here. So keep that in mind as we go forward. It then settles this over Rochester by 11 to 11:30. I think the same notion is going to hold true. The actual band is probably going to look something more like this by that point. Now, what catches my eye here, watch how long our in-house model keeps this settled. You see it has a little flutter to it, but it almost self-corrects. When it gets a little nudge south, it corrects back to the north. We can do that all night long, and you're going to be talking a lot of snowfall for areas falling under that band. Note, too, that that band gets all the way into Wayne County. Still fluttering around tomorrow morning. This is 8 to 9 o'clock, mainly just south of Rochester, right along that thruway. It's still bouncing around into the early part of the afternoon. It may take until the second half of tomorrow to finally break this down. We'll have some milder air coming in aloft. And ironically enough, that's just so we can set the stage for some more snow on Sunday. No more lake effect. This will all be primarily light, but more steady. We call that synoptic snow. That is the everybody gets snow versus the very limited amount. Now, we fine-tuned our snow maps here tonight, and that's how we operate here. We don't just give you one map in the morning and say we're going to live with it come hell or high water. We look at what we're seeing, we make our observations, and we put our brains on this and say, all right, based on what we've seen here, based on the data, let's adjust accordingly. And I think the idea of a slam dunk, very heavy snowfall is locked and loaded in this general area. You're going to be looking at Buffalo, I think in particular the south towns of Buffalo. I'd be looking more toward Orchard Park, maybe the north side of Hamburg. That could stretch all the way to the Alden area. The thruway is going to be right on the northern fringe of that 6 to 12. We're going to show you some traffic graphics here tomorrow. I don't think the thruway is going to be a lot of fun tomorrow from Batavia to Buffalo. But locally here, this is, I think, what a lot of folks are kind of more interested in. What are we doing with the eastern flank of this band? And that, I think, is going to be the biggest wild card out of this. I am a believer that we will end up with a part of Monroe County here, and it may end up being in the vicinity of downtown Rochester, and then all the way southward, you're looking toward Henrietta, maybe Rush, maybe the Avon area. We're going to get that very narrow band established, and rather easily we could be looking at 3 to 6 inches of very fluffy snow. There's a lot going on behind the scenes with the temperature profile of the atmosphere that to me is very favorable for good accumulation out of this. So these are all little things. But I will admit to you, we've drawn this swath pretty wide. The snow band is not going to be that wide. So there's a little bit of us hedging our bets here. What will actually happen, the way reality will go here through tomorrow, wherever that band is, it will be much more narrow than that. It will probably be something along that order of magnitude, which means, all of this, if it plays like that, does not get that much. But we simply cannot be fine-tuned down to 1 to 2 miles here over the course of 24 hours. So we have a reasonably good idea of where we think that band will settle. I still maintain I would be looking at areas on the southwest side of Rochester especially. I think you're going to get the most bang for your buck out of this. And do not be surprised to see some 3, 4, 5, even a half a foot showing up somewhere in Monroe County, somewhere in the general vicinity of the south side of Rochester. I really do think that that is a fair expectation out of this. Much less snowfall totals the farther east you go, and I also think the farther north you go, assuming that band does not get hung up here, which I've seen that happen before, but that does not appear to be the most likely solution right now. So in the Rochester area, the highest probability of moderate snowfall totals will exist from roughly downtown, southward to Henrietta, southward toward the county line of Monroe and Livingston, and then back westward along the thruway. That'll get you into Riga, and then that'll eventually throw your way into Genesee County too, where you start talking heftier accumulations as well. Let's say you got somewhere to be on Saturday. You're traveling around and you want to know where to go and where not to go. The where not to go is going to end up being the thruway going west. That's going to be our focus here. Batavia, westbound to Buffalo to Hamburg. It'll get better by the time you head to Erie if that's your destination, but know that where that band settles, it is not going to be fun. And it's not just heavy snow we're tracking with those lake snow warnings. There are strong winds with this that will generate whiteout conditions at times, which means, let's say this band sits over the thruway for a few hours, and then it stops snowing. The band can settle southward. 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts, you're going to keep blowing that snow that's already fallen back on the thruway. And that's where road crews have a tough time keeping up. I think there's going to be localized travel where you've got near zero visibility at times, all dependent on that band. And there may be a few hours through the day tomorrow where that band nudges south and the thruway clears up a little bit and it gets better. But that's the bottom line out of this. Travel west is not going to be ideal. If you're south on 390, it's better. If you're east on 90, it's better because you're getting farther and farther away from that band of lake effect snow. 8-day forecast here. There's your light stuff reigniting on Sunday. We do not expect much out of that. Overnight lows Sunday night dropping way down. We got them in the single digits here. We'll have additional chances of snow showers Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Could be a break on Thursday, both the GFS and the European model suggesting Friday could be another one to watch. That looks like another more bigger storm system out there in the long run that could provide some additional accumulating snow, but we'll kind of have to get there when we get there. All right, my buddy Adam Chodek's behind me. He's got some stuff to record here. Thank you for watching. We'll be back with you at 11 o'clock. I will see you then.